Hello, she's back and we're doing okay right now. We have cried once today, full disclosure, but we are going to try and not let that happen again. Today we're talking about postpartum depression, anxiety, and rage because she's back. That postpartum depression is back with a vengeance, and I was really hoping it wouldn't come back to this. If you listened to the very first episode of this podcast, which was maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago now, it was about how I realized I had postpartum depression with my first and all of that. So we're gonna kind of jump back into that and talk what I'm doing this time, what I did to try to prevent it, and what I'm still doing to stay on top of it right now so that it doesn't really get ahead of me. It does feel like it's right on top of me. I am carrying a mountain. We're trying to huck it behind us because it is on top of me. I cannot get over it at the moment. So anyway, I think I forgot my introduction. So welcome to She's Doing All Right. My name is Sarah, and we are talking about motherhood and mental health in this episode and probably for a few episodes. So after my first son was born, we dealt with this, and that's my first episode, like I was saying. So you can go ahead and listen to that one if you want to hear like how I kind of managed all of that and what I did to realize it. But we're going to focus mostly on how I realized it the second. I recently had my daughter. She was born in January, so I have like an almost 3-year-old. He'll be 3 in July, and I have a almost 4-month-old. She'll be 4 months old in like 2 weeks, which is wild. Where is this year going? They say time moves faster with your second, and wow, does it ever. Like I don't think I've taken a single monthly photo of her. I haven't had a chance to slow down, and that kind of leads into why we're dealing with all of this right now. So let's just start with how I recognized the signs. It started with a day about 3 months, and actually leading up to 3 months, I was like kind of loving being a mom of 2. I would say that it was harder. There were some days that were harder than I could have imagined, but overall it was better than I could have ever imagined. We had my son home as my daughter was 2 weeks old. And he and I and her would like go do things. We were in the library, music class, this indoor play spaces. Like we did so much together, and I was really enjoying it. And then that 3 months hit, and I kind of lost track of the whole fact that this was our like end of the 4th trimester, as they call it. And I think I would have liked to have a bit more awareness of the fact that it was coming to an end, because I would have caught this even sooner. However, I went for a night out because my son was driving me up the wall one day. It was like tantrums, and both of us just tearing up and crying. Like I was yelling more than ever. I was sitting there, he's talking to me, and I'm like zoning out. And then telling my husband about it. Like I went out for that night and just like journaled stuff. Come home, tell my husband, like, I'm just realizing I really miss my life before kids, but even when my son was in daycare and I was at home, like I had a personality, I had a time to be creative, blah, blah, blah. And my husband pointed out and said, you used to do this when you were postpartum with our son. And that's like, you would always talk about how much better your life was before he was born. And now you're doing it again. And I was like, oh, you're right. So that kind of like triggered the thought that maybe I have postpartum depression again. So right away, when I found a therapist, I haven't talked to anybody yet, but I have like a meeting to see if I like this therapist. So just a consultation, and that's in a couple of days. But anyway, that my husband saying that first was like, oh, I need to like, let's take a look at this. So as I was thinking about it, I realized, yeah, I'm missing the days of old. I'm missing my youth. I'm feeling like I'm totally washed up, old, have no life. My future's over. It's ended. I'm just a mom now, and I hate this here. The other thing I was doing was disassociating, and a big one was that I was raging on my child. Like I would absolutely lose it, and I still do this sometimes, but now that I'm aware of it, I can catch myself, and so I can either stop it in the middle or I can like cut it down and apologize after I've done it. But being aware of it, whereas before I literally would just like scream, I'm so mad, like I'm so angry and frustrated because this little not even 3-year-old is touching every single nerve, right? So that kind of was the first trigger, or first like awareness that I'm like getting triggered easily and have this probably. The second thing now is that I'm realizing, and I'm going to talk to my therapist about this, is that the anxiety that I did not deal, like I had it the first time, but I didn't address it. I don't think I kind of just treated it like, oh, this is all under the umbrella of postpartum depression. Now that I look back, I realize I actually had a lot of postpartum anxiety as well with my first. Tons of intrusive thoughts for months. I didn't sleep for ages because I was so scared that something would happen while he slept. So I would sleep like with my hand in his bassinet, or I'd sleep on the floor of his room with my hand in the crib on his belly, just to be like, okay, he's breathing, we're good. So unfortunately, plot twist, it's not good. If you don't sleep, guess what happens? Mental health plummets. So that wasn't great. And I noticed that the anxiety has been creeping in again. So for me, I've noticed that I have this cycle. I get angry. I lose it on my child. I start to dissociate. And then as I'm sitting there, things are calming down. It's usually nap time or whatever. Like even if it's playtime, things are going good again. And I start to just think about the worst possible scenarios. Like my son's gonna be the next one kidnapped, and I'm gonna, like our last conversation was the fact that I was yelling at him. Or I'm in my head thinking awful things about how much I hate my life right now, and the universe is just gonna be like, okay, here you go, we'll change it for you, and it's gonna take my kids away from me. And I know that's not true, but that's where like the anxiety reaches in that way. And I start getting really, really anxious. So then we have depression, because I'm now feeling super sad and guilty, mom guilt like tenfold, because now I feel like I'm not a good enough mom. I'm yelling at my kid. Who yells at their kid? Everyone. But when you're in the moment, you're like, I'm the only person that does this. Guilt for feeling like I'm just teaching my kids how to be awful people because I'm being an awful person. I feel like I am now like getting anxious that something terrible is going to happen. And yeah, then it just like, it's a cycle, and I'm constantly ready to cry any given moment, good or bad. Tears are like right there at the end of the eyes. So that's what we've been dealing with right now. And so what I've been doing from before my daughter was even born, what I did to try to prevent this was to stay super, super focused on my protein, my vitamins, and like keeping iron and vitamin D really, really high, vitamin C really, really high. And my sleep. And I tried to like make sure I was going to sleep with the kids, but our son doesn't really sleep. I don't really know what to do with that one. It's becoming a huge issue. He does not go to bed on time. He doesn't go to bed by himself, and he's up every day at 7. My husband and I have no time together. It's exhausting, and also part of like pushing resentment onto my kid, I think. Like I blame him for so much, and it's like, it's not his fault, but it also is. It doesn't mean it's his responsibility to fix it because he's a kid, but like at the end of the day, he is the reason for a lot of the issues in our life right now. And it feels horrible to say that, but at the same time, it's true. Like we brought him here, and now he exists, and he's difficult sometimes, a lot of the time. So that's okay. He's also the sweetest kid ever, but it's always when he wants to be. So anyway, what we did to stay ahead of this was the vitamins, protein, and sleep. And as I got comfortable in that cycle, I started letting the sleep slip. I stopped eating because I really don't have an appetite. I've talked about this before. I don't know if it's been on the podcast or just on social media, but when I'm breastfeeding, I actually have zero appetite. Like I get hungry sometimes, but I have to like really, really, really be craving something specific, or I just have no interest in eating. So I have to force myself to eat, and that is really only going to happen if something's convenient. So when I'm getting tired, I'm sleep deprived, now I'm getting cranky, and I'm really not like wanting to eat anything. So if I don't eat anything, I don't take my vitamins. And then there we go, in just one matter of days, we have lost everything that was keeping us on track. So now here I am trying to go back to bed with my kids, usually 8:30 or 9, because that's what time he starts to fall asleep and settle down. Every morning I'm making sure that I do not get a coffee until we have eaten breakfast, and I'm trying to make sure I'm feeding my son like multiple times a day too, because he won't ask for food so much. He'll ask for some snacks, but he's a Cancer boy. Like, if you like astrology, Cancers are always hangry. Feed your Cancer babies, always, because otherwise they get crabby. That is how I remember this. Always feed them or they're gonna get crabby. So I'm always trying to like make snack plates for him and keep him fed, and it's working because it makes me eat as well. Another thing I'm doing to try to stick ahead of this is now like, yeah, eat, then to my vitamins. I take, this is not medical advice whatsoever, just sharing what I'm taking. I take 2 pills, so I think it's 5,000 milligrams of vitamin D, which I don't know if that's too much, but I did notice a decrease in my focus and like mental health, I guess, when I was only taking the 2,500. So I take 2 of those now, so it's 5,000. I take 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day, 3 pills of evening primrose oil, and that's just for my skin and nail health and hair health, because my baby hairs are, well, they're not coming in yet, but the hair is falling out. It's not a great time. If you ever want to know how to feel more depressed, lose your hair. Find your hair attached to everything. It becomes very overstimulating because every time somebody else is not touching you, your hair is, and it's everywhere. It's a disaster, and you just feel disgusting because it's balding. It's great. So yeah, not a fan of that. Another thing I'm doing is just simplifying my skincare. I've talked about Stun Collective a million times, both here and social media. It's just like a 3-step skincare routine at night and in the morning, and it's all plant-based, tons of vitamin C, plant-based retinol. I adore it. It is the best thing that's ever happened to my skin. I've been using it for like 2 years. This isn't really a plug, but it's turning into a plug. If you do want a code or you want to try it out, I believe Sarah Carter UGC or Sarah G Carter. One of those, it'll be in the link in the bio or in the description. One of those gives you 10% off your first order, and yeah, highly recommend it. But anyway, it's a simple, easy skincare routine, and that has been a game changer because then I'm doing something for myself every single day, morning and night. And then I'm getting back up on my protein, and I'm trying to cut down my screen time because screen time is not helping us. I read this amazing thing or heard this amazing podcast thing, and the guy said fathers put down their phones to connect with their family. Moms pick up their phone to connect with their community. And it's so true. We are with our kids all day, so then we pick up our phone to connect with people who are going through the similar situation as us, because we don't always have that community right around us. Like, if you have people in your direct life that you can see multiple times a week and they've got kids and they understand where you are in life and you can speak openly and freely with them, you are so lucky. If you have family nearby who are willing to help you out, you are so lucky. You will not know what it's like to not have that until you're in that situation. We don't have family close by. So I end up picking up my phone quite a lot to even FaceTime my mom or call siblings and sisters, and it becomes an issue because my son does not want me on my phone. He sees the phone as taking me away from him, which it sort of is, because I'm like, I've connected with you all day long, let me talk to somebody and connect to someone for myself. So putting my phone down and only using it during nap times or like before bed, it's been better, but then also it's difficult because I like to be on my phone. I like social media. Like, I really enjoy it. I learn a lot from it. It's where I get a lot of my education from, or thoughts and stuff to like research. So it's been challenging of like letting myself put it away. You use the phone for like music now, and that's about it. And also I've noticed that if I cut down my screen time, my kids' screen time is automatically cut down as well. So that is ideal. And so that's kind of how everything's been going. And I have therapy booked, like I said. We're using therapy to try to get ahead of this because I have good days and I've got bad days. I don't know if I've seen a lot of people talk about this. When you're dealing with postpartum depression, you can go online, like I posted videos of being like, it's back, this is how I'm feeling today, it's really hard, I'm depressed, I'm feeling like I'm just crying a lot, I'm mad at my kids, I don't want to be here, I don't want this life, I'm over it. And then the next day I'm posting a video and I'm happy and I'm like having the best day ever with my kids. And it can look like someone's just certifiably insane and switching back and forth dramatically, even in the same day. Sometimes I can go from crying to having the best time ever, and it's all the cause of the same person and their little 3-year-old terrorist, emotional terrorist. But that's the part with the depression that I don't think gets talked about enough, is like, it's still there. I can love him and have the best time ever, and not want to give up that moment, and I can still be like not 100% in my brain. I can still be on the edge of tears. I can still be ready to snap at any given minute. That's the part that I really do hate a whole lot, is how quickly my emotions change. Because really, parenting is about teaching our kids how to manage their own emotions and how to we're trying to make them be good humans, and they're gonna learn by watching us. And here my kids are watching me lose it every 15 seconds. So that has been challenging to deal with, because I don't like mood swings, and I've never had more mood swings in my life. I think I obviously had them the first time I've dealt with this, but like to feel it going through it. So I don't know, if you've dealt with this, I would love to hear what you've got to say about it, because I honestly don't really know a lot of people who've dealt with postpartum depression who are willing to talk about it super openly. I get that it's taboo, and we talk about it in the sense of like, oh, I'm just having a hard time being home with the kids. And most people talk about it in like a chemical imbalance or a hormonal dip. But the fact of the matter is that there's also like the situational depression, like my hormones and chemicals and all that stuff could be part of it. But another part of it is that my life completely changed, and I don't get anything for myself right now. We are 4 months into this, of being a mom of 2, you know? And the first year of any child is exhausting. And something I'm noticing is that it's not so much physically exhausting. That is definitely a huge component of it, but I am emotionally exhausted. And what am I trying to say? Trying to balance my children's emotions, which really I can only balance the one because the other one is too small, but trying to teach him how to deal with his emotions when I am not even able to work on my own. Talk about feeling inadequate. Like, talk about not feeling qualified for the job. It's so difficult. And then to get mad at them, and I'm mad at myself, and there's just so much anger all the way around. I have had this realization today that, and I knew this before, but to like realize I'm projecting this onto my kid. And I actually just posted a video about it on Instagram, I think. When I was a kid, I felt like I was expected to take care of the emotions of the people around me. So my mom had a lot of things on her plate, and so I was kind of like, don't stress her out. And when I had a bad day, I was like the easy kid. So when I had a bad day, it felt like, I don't know if people said this to me, but what I absorbed was like, Sarah, don't act like this. You're my easy one. Don't start. I'm dealing with enough with the other kids. Don't act like this. So my emotions were never allowed to be dealt with. And then with my dad's place, it felt like he also had so much going on, and he was just like a live wire that was going to yell. If you said the wrong thing, he would be very visible. Like, it was very visible if you frustrated him. And so I just felt like I was always walking on eggshells around. I didn't want to make anybody mad. I didn't want to make somebody yell. I didn't want to be extra work for anybody. And so now raising kids, I'm like, kids are absolutely not responsible for the emotions of people around them, specifically their parents. And yet here I am projecting it onto him. I don't tell him to like that, but I said this in the stories as well, but like internally when he causes me to lose it, I'm thinking, why are you making me feel this way? Like, why are you doing this? You're making it really hard for me right now. And instead of focusing on myself, essentially. That's what I'm saying. Like, I should be focusing on why I can't hold it together. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm still figuring it out. I'm sure therapy will help a lot. Something I will say is that I've had to just accept the fact that neglecting him in his temper tantrum and removing myself from the situation, locking myself in the room, is a better solution and it will be less traumatic to him than me standing there and fighting with him and yelling at him. So he needs me, he's crying, and I'm so overstimulated and so upset with whatever the situation is, and so overwhelmed that I will lose it on him crying, or I have to leave and let him cry by himself. And both ways, he's just wanting my love and my attention, and neither one, like, regardless, he doesn't get it, which is so unfortunate and sucks. And sometimes I'm really great, and sometimes I'm so proud of how I handle a situation. And then like 80% of the time, I'm just like really ashamed of how I handle a situation. But we're working on it. We're figuring it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am not truly crying. This is just tears. We're doing okay. I saw this video on TikTok the other day that was just geared towards women, but I think it's so relevant for moms, and I want to share with you, especially if you're dealing with postpartum depression or anything. But honestly, if you're just anybody living life, I want you to listen to this, because what she says was that her and her friend started texting each other about how to save the day. No matter how bad work was, no matter how good work was, you're always doing things for other people, and saving the day means doing one thing at the end of the day for yourself, whether it's having a single cup of tea 5 minutes before bed, maybe read a book or do a puzzle. Sometimes it's doing yoga or whatever it is, but do one thing for you, and that is how you save the day. Saving the day does not mean that everything is perfect. It doesn't mean that you had an easy day or whatever. It just means that you did one thing that was just for you. And I have been trying to implement it. The day I heard that, I actually FaceTimed my mom and did a puzzle, and that was so nice after the kids were in bed. And then lately I've just been trying to read a book. I got an alarm clock, and so I put my phone out of my room. It's been 2 nights in a row. It's going well. I don't want technology in the room anymore, because I know myself and I scroll for hours, way into the depths of the night, and a tired mom is not an asset to a happy family. So I'm trying to take some responsibility there. But yeah, I would love to know how you save the day, and I'm going to try and be doing that every single day. If I have time now, I'm going to do some yoga before the kids wake up from their nap, but otherwise that'll be tonight's issue as well, tonight's goal. So if this gets posted on Instagram, feel free to go over and leave a comment there, letting me know how you save the day. And otherwise, I would love if you wanted to give a comment or a rating on the Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this. It would be very, very helpful. Oh, sorry, it's the wind. I thought my children were crying, and I was like, great, let's get this show back on the road. Also, if you're a parent of 2 or more, it is like an underrated joy in life is when your kids nap at the same time. It's blissful. It is. I'm trying to start doing things for myself during that time, because why not? And scrolling Instagram and TikTok is not exactly where I want to be spending my time. So we're spending our time here making a podcast, because I really, really miss this. And yeah, anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm a little bit tired. So if you're still listening, thank you so much. If you have had depression, anxiety, if you've dealt with postpartum rage, all of the above, I would love to know, if you're willing to share, I'd love to know how you dealt with it, what you're doing about it, and if there's any advice that you heard that really stuck with you, please send it my way. My email is in the drop-down box, comment section, what's it called? Description. My email's in the description. It's also sarahmgcarter@gmail.com. And then you can find me on social media at Sarah G. Carter for my regular one, and She's Doing All Right podcast on Instagram. And Sarah G. Carter is also Sarah.G.Carter is Instagram and TikTok. So feel free to message me on any of those platforms. And I would love to hear some feedback and open up this conversation, because we've got to talk about it. We have seen too many horrible news stories about what happens when moms don't talk about it. And it usually is the children that suffer the most. And I just want that to change. So we can still be good moms even when we are having literally the worst time of our life. It's not like this forever, and it's gonna be okay. we're still doing all right. We're doing all right. Okay? I love you. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you next week, hopefully, or at least in the next podcast. Bye.